Hundreds of violent crimes nationwide go unsolved every year, and that uncertainty can last for years, even decades.
But every once in a while, investigators do make a breakthrough, and that can mean closure for families who have been desperately waiting for a resolution. CBS 2 News reporter Jason Hackett joins us now with his special report. Jason?
Yeah, Scott and Tiffany, at 6 we told you about John Crutcher and his family. Back in April of 1984, police found his brother's body outside of his burned down mobile home. His brother's girlfriend and his mother were found days later, all of them brutally beaten to death. Now 30 years later, his family finally gets some answers from the experts in Ankeny. It's a CSI fan's dream.
So this is our reference collection.
But the DCI crime lab at Ankeny is far from the lights, camera, and flash of Hollywood.
We spend a lot of time doing the paperwork.
Piles of paperwork, but the 52 men and women here do far more than that. It's their job to gather evidence from hundreds of Iowa crimes every year. The lab consists of several areas like guns and ballistics.
We've got about 4,000 guns in the collection right now.
There's drug analysis, handwriting, fingerprints, and the DNA crime lab, the lab that helped John Crutcher and his family find closure after 30 long years.
Mr. Crutcher, this is Special Agent with the Iowa DCI. I'd like to talk to you about your mother and your brother.
That was the call he got from Ankeny last year. Crutcher lost his mother, Sarah, along with his brother, Alfie, and his brother's girlfriend, Tina, back in 1984. The killer was never caught. After the initial call, he kept in contact with the lab almost daily.
We're working on some leads, but we're making progress. Don't discuss it with anybody.
Meanwhile, the work was going on behind the scenes back at DCI. Lab supervisor Paul Bush has been working with DNA for decades. Bush says DNA analysis has changed a great deal since he started. For one, DNA kits have improved. Now you're able to get DNA from a wider array of samples.
We can get results from about the amount of blood you could fit on the tip of a Q-tip.
Analysis is quicker, freeing up criminalists to examine more cases. And then there's CODIS.
We've got about 82,000 database samples in our state, 10 million database samples in the nation.
It's a system a little more than a decade old. Think of it as a Rolodex for DNA, from offenders and arrestees nationwide. CODIS is what helped pinpoint a killer. Mike Schmidt was one of the criminalists working on cracking this cold case.
And was able to get a DNA profile from sperm on one of the victim's pants.
That victim was Tina Lade. He loaded the samples into CODIS.
And we got a hit against Missouri's database of convicted offenders.
Finally, last month, after 30 long years, a face to fit the crime. This man, Andrew Wessel 6.
They were evil. They had no redeeming factors. None.
Just 3 short years after killing Tina, Sarah, and Alfie with no motive, 6 was arrested for kidnapping and torturing an Ottumwa family, then raping and killing their 13-year-old daughter. Her body was later found in Missouri. 6 was executed under Missouri's death penalty law in 1997, meaning Crutcher will never get to look into the killer's eye, in addition to never getting back what he once had.
I walked in here. I gave my sister a hug. If I want to go see my mom or my brother, I got to go to a graveyard. It's not right.
But there is some sense of closure.
Closed all those possibilities. You know, we now know who was involved. Now we know that it was Andrew 6.
For Schmidt,
at least you can tell them we did not forget about your case.
It's the fulfillment of lifelong dreams.
It's been an honor being able to work on these cold cases. You know, I remember some of these cases from when I was a kid.
For this family, their nightmare can finally come to an end.
I don't have to look over my shoulder anymore.
And it all started with a phone call.
He never promised me nothing. And he literally gave me the moon and stars.
Unfortunately, federal grant funding for cold cases was exhausted in 2011. This case was the last one under that specific grant. The DCI says even so, they'll continue to investigate cases as leads develop and technology allows. Crutcher says for the sake of other families, he sure hopes so. Jason Hackett, CBS 2 News, 10 at 10.